Hello and welcome to the Squeaky Bum Time Podcast with Mike and Laurent. We are back. It is Thursday, a week since our last pod, May 13th. In this episode, I have to talk about Manchester City being champions. We backed in. It wasn't as good. And we're going to talk about just the goings-on of the last week, talk about PSG, talk about Juve, talk about where the Champions League is. But first, Mike, you experienced the raising of a cup more than you'll experience one with Spurs. How was winning your fantasy hockey league?
Oh, it felt great. That's why we missed the show on Monday, because I was a nervous wreck. It came down to the wire. I was winning the whole time, and it came down to the wire. I almost shit myself out of a championship. So I will be heading to New York this weekend to reclaim my actual Stanley Cup that we have as a league. So any trophy's a good trophy as long as you can drink out of it, right? That's the only reason I wanted Spurs to win Europa League for a while there.
Yeah. So you could have a trophy and drink. First of all, any league that doesn't have a trophy is fucking lame. Okay. No plates, no shields, no vases. Okay.
Yep.
Unless the vase can be drunk out of. Because any of these like swirly things, like, okay, actually I take that back. The World Cup trophy, that's pretty cool. It's not big.
Like, no, it's like a foot long.
It needs to be way bigger.
It needs to be huge.
Right. It should be the size of the Stanley Cup.
Exactly.
It should have an actual soccer ball.
I had an argument with somebody about this because they were like, I was like, the Stanley Cup is the greatest trophy in all the sports.
Absolutely
and it's not even fucking close. And they're like, well, the World Cup is made of gold. I'm like, it's like 6 inches long.
Yeah.
It fucking stinks. It looks like it looks like one of the replica.
It looks like the trophy a Chinese man would make.
Yeah, dude,
like not big enough.
Oh, Jesus Christ! I was like, yeah, I don't know, what, like a knockoff one. That's where I was going with that. Okay,
but to be fair, we're going to talk about City winning the trophy. To be fair, the original World Cup trophy, the Jules Rimet, is gone. They fucking lost it.
Yeah, Brazil probably lost it.
Yeah, well, they probably had it and lost it. But it was a little tiny guy. It was really small. It was like a little boopy doop.
Right. It's like the thing it's like a paperweight. Like, what the fuck are you doing, man?
It needs to be bigger than a plant. Basically, you should get the Jesus that's above Brazil, that you should claim it, and they should move the whole statue to the country that fucking wins it, to their tallest mountain. Now that would be a fucking trophy.
That would be a trophy. I don't know that I need a statue. All I know is I need it to be the primary function of it. I can drink out of it.
Yes.
And B, it needs to be heavy and big enough that if I have a shoulder injury, I can't hold it correctly.
Yeah.
That's kind of the two pieces of criteria that the Stanley Cup meets that nobody else in the world has sort of figured out. What would you say in either European sports? There's so many of them, right? But okay, let's stick to American sports. What's the lamest trophy?
Baseball's is weird because it's odd shaped, but it's still cool because it's got
detail.
It's the only one that's really weird. The NFL trophy sucks.
So does the NBA trophy, though.
They all suck.
Yeah.
They're not cups.
Right.
Get the Larry O'Brien trophy. That's fucking awful.
Yeah.
They call it the lob. Ugh.
Oh, God, that's terrible. That's terrible.
Anyway, let's talk about City. So City finally, in a foregone conclusion, we back into the championship with our friends from Leicester defeating Manchester United who have lost twice this week. They had a chance to win 3 games before City played again, and so far they've lost them all. So there's our challengers. So City back in. I just want to wax a little poetic on my team. You know, there's been a lot of talk about what happened, how things changed. And one of the things that I think is interesting is the team has regenerated itself. We've essentially lost our original core 4 of Silva, Company, Joe Hart, Aguero, that original group, Yaya, who brought really the first 2-3 trophies. And now we've got this new team centered around De Bruyne and Foden and now Diaz and Ederson
and Mahrez
and rebuilt the team. Like, there's basically a new squad that can kick on. Like, be very afraid. Go look at how old City is. There's really only Fernandinho's really old, and De Bruyne is 29, so he's got at least 2-3 years left in him. He's going to be the elder statesman. That City will probably win again. And, it was I think one of the things that's also been interesting about this version of City is not a massive goal scoring machine, but a defensive juggernaut. City are going to end the season probably not scoring 80 goals. And that's the first time they've won a title without scoring at least 90. And the previous 3 seasons, they scored over 100 goals. So this is a different City, more in control, less reliant on blowouts, less reliant on scoring, and more in control. They literally play slower.
Yeah, I think that's the word, right? I think that, it was suffocating at times watching them. And it has been, to be clear, it has been in the past, but it always felt like
in
when
the big
City
games,
is
they get beat.
Yeah, fine. But it always felt like, especially not in big games, if they're playing a Watford or some shit
they
like that,
annihilate them.
It's a track meet, right? Yeah. And so the difference this year was that it was methodical, it was surgical, would be the word I would use.
You know what? You know what it is, actually? It's more like Liverpool. Liverpool's two good teams, the 98-point team and the one that just won the title, was not a high-scoring, frenetic, the Liverpool we fell in love with. But it was, That's slowing true. It down. We've got Van Dijk. We'll get our goal. We'll sit on this game. We'll choke this team out. Right. If we get a second, that's great. We can still score, but City don't have the crazy XG because they're not trying to score all the time. Right. Because in the past, they had to keep trying to score, whereas Liverpool used to not have to keep trying to score. And you'd be like, City's so much better than this team. And really, by stats, they were. But Liverpool knew they could take their foot off the gas and be like, we'll just see this game out. We've got this. So City can now do that. And I think the innovative thing is it's without a real goal scorer. Just the leading goal scorer of this team is going to be Ilkay Gundogan with 12 goals in the league.
Pretty wild. Who's a box-to-box midfielder, right? Like not at all.
But not since this season.
But not at all thought of in the 10 role, right?
No. It was during when De Bruyne got hurt, he became the guy because they just sort of shifted the team into a different gear. And one of the things that Guardiola has said in multiple interviews is City were playing too fast and doing too much running. And what they needed to do was get more rhythmic, slow, boom, 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 and be in the box and use changing pace as their attack method rather than sort of attacking people the way that they have historically done. And then it can't be spoken about more. I mean, we're going to talk about the season's best 11, but I think Premier League player of the season is Ruben Diaz. He's on the best team with the best defense, and he didn't miss a game. And he was better than any team. He's the best defender in the league by far. And he was the best player on City because he made it easy to play. Yeah. We didn't have to worry.
So I think we'll spend an episode probably next week.
Yeah.
And we'll go through our player awards and all that stuff because, well, frankly, there's not a whole heck of a lot to talk about left. Relegation is basically done and dusted. I don't think
it is done. No, relegation is done.
Are they done?
Yeah.
So we're talking about Fulham, West Brom, and Sheffield United going down. The top 4 is actually still close, and sons of bitches, here come Liverpool again, right? So
they need a crazy amount of luck.
No, they don't. They have a game in hand on Chelsea, and then they're 1 point behind them.
Yeah. You think Chelsea's gonna lose the next 2 games?
Did I think they were gonna lose to fucking Arsenal? No.
Sure, why not?
They have tough games coming up though.
They have the FA Cup, they have Leicester again, they have the Champions League final, and they have somebody else. They have a tough schedule.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I absolutely think.
Yeah, but Liverpool haven't won 4 games in a row all year, and they were pretty leaky at the back against United today. They won 4-2. They won old Liverpool way, right? Okay, they won pre-Van Dijk Liverpool style, where they just were like, ah!
They're playing West Brom, Burnley, and Palace. That's 9 points.
You know what? I don't know that. That.
Fine, but it's okay.
They have a good shot. All Chelsea have to do is win a game.
No, they have to win. They have to get 2 wins. They have to get and by the way, well, they'll probably it'll be close on goal difference because Liverpool's -2 right now.
The goal difference is right. Yeah, they're close. They're super.
Yeah. So it's tight, right? So, I mean, if Liverpool win out, that's 69 points for them. And then Chelsea has to beat Leicester. No easy task. And by the way, I actually should be including Leicester in this because they're on 66. One win for them puts them ahead.
Sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing. I was looking at goals for. No wonder I got thrown off.
Chelsea and Leicester played Chelsea and Tottenham to end the season. Not an easy draw either, right?
Yeah, you're right. You're completely right. I was looking at the wrong column.
Yeah. So Liverpool are very much in this, and I said this a while ago on the show. I thought Leicester would be an easier team to catch than Chelsea,
but they got that big win.
Big win. Massive. Yeah, and that's the difference right now. Because if they lose that game, they're fucking cooked. Liverpool's going to blow right past them.
Yeah, so, they would have been on 63. They would have been on 67. No, sorry. 63. Yeah, they would have been.
Math is hard for Laurent tonight.
Yeah, I'm looking at 14 columns at once, and I need to be looking at 2.
I've got to think after today's game, after the result that Liverpool got against United, which is massive in the top 4 race, West Ham is done.
Yeah, they're cooked.
They do still have the game in hand, but they're not. They're
not good enough.
They're not
good enough.
They may get into Europe somehow, but I doubt it.
Well, there's an extra. There's a new tournament next year. You're all getting it.
I still don't understand that. I have to go back and reread it. But they're gonna invite all.
Everyone get Europe.
Yeah.
Bring your COVID shields.
Jeez. So I mean, there's not a whole lot to talk about.
Really, not a whole lot to play. There's not even like a record to play for. Like City are gonna get 80 between either 86 points or 80 points. Like. No big deal, or 89.
Yeah, they can top out at 89, but like, who cares? It's the lowest point total in 5 years for a champion.
Yes,
right.
Yes,
since Leicester, that's probably the lowest. But so it's. I mean, it was an interesting season. We still have some story.
I don't think it had. So when I look back at it, it didn't have great moments that you can point to, because I think what makes moments is fan reaction.
Yep.
And without fans,
the player-fan interactions.
Yeah. And without fans and without the sort of feeling of people being in the stands, all these championships during this COVID have been a little hollow. Ask a Dodger fan. There's no way they feel fucking pumped about that World Series. That was the only one of historical significance.
Right. And it was the first one since 88, so they do a little bit, right?
But they weren't there. They weren't.
Yeah, right.
And it was a short, I mean, if I was a Giants fan, I'd be like, that shit doesn't count, okay? You and your fucking half season when half the player is not even playing. So
no, I agree. There's an element significantly missing, right? And
So let's sort of shift away from the Premier League. We don't do Europe as much.
No, we don't. But there's a lot of really interesting races going on right now. We'll talk about that right after this.
You know, as I get older, I tend to appreciate different things. One thing I love now more than I ever have in the past is some unique furniture. Not just any furniture, unique custom furniture made by Battle Rattle Woodworks. He's specializing in charcuterie boards for all those parties you're about to host when this weather gets a little nicer. Even better, if you enter the code CHOP15 at checkout, you're going to get 15% off your entire purchase. Massive savings on some unique American-made stuff. Help support your local veteran right now and visit him on social media at Battle Rattle Woodworks.
All right, and we're back. I want to talk more about Europe. And what's going on in Europe is super exciting. You have now Italy's done and dusted. Germany's done and dusted. France is like, they're not fucking around.
Can I go back to Italy for a second?
Yeah.
Juventus is in 5th place.
Oh, that part is bad.
That's
I forgot
nuts.
about that.
They're going to sell Ronaldo because he's going to be like, what the fuck? I've never finished in 5th place.
Yeah.
5th place.
Yeah. Well, I think
I own an island 5th place. I'll buy this league.
Have a shitty coach.
Yeah.
Wait, they won today.
Doesn't matter. They're still in 5th goddamn place.
Yeah, they are bad.
Juventus is going to be in Europa League. That's phenomenal.
Well, the weak link of that, even though they just beat them and head-to-head matters, is Milan. But there's not many games to go. There's only 2 games to go, and usually if it's more points than games, you're fucked.
Yeah. Right.
So it's very likely that they'll go down. Napoli are the one that Juve's right on the shoulder of, and you'd expect the heart of a champion to show up, but I think Agnelli, who's been part of the Super League thing, really has been trying to meddle and move his team forward from its historical defensive roots, first with Conte and Max Allegri, which got them to win in Italy, but he could see that in Europe they needed to find the offensive gear.
Mm-hmm.
And he has been experimenting first with Sarri last year and now with Pirlo this year, trying to get that Frank Lampard magic. And it's really hard to find the best coaches in the world to go to Juve, because the best coaches in the world are literally all in the Premier League.
Yeah.
and they're paying way over dollar. And Juve has been sort of cobbled together with a lot of free transfers, but high wages. And the Ronaldo move was the big dick on the table move to try and get them to win the Champions League for the first time. And I think it's got to be over 20 years. They haven't won in a long time. I don't know their history, but having them not make it is a big deal. And this is exactly why the Super League exists, because Juve is like, what? That's fucking $80 million that's gone.
Right.
What do I do?
Looking back into it, they're going to play Inter Milan, who's the champions, who, by the way,
they will not they will go. They're not going to blow that game.
They want to keep Juve
they will
out.
Fuck them. Yes.
Yeah. And so Napoli's already a point ahead. Napoli's playing two bottom feeders, right? They're playing Fiorentina and Verona. So Fiorentina's not a bottom feeder, but like they're both basically bottom half of the table. And so Juventus, if they don't get a win against the title holders, they just to keep par with them, pace with them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's out of their hands, right? They can't, if they win out, it doesn't matter if Napoli wins out.
Right. Exactly. And so it's really interesting. They're very likely going to be the Europa League qualification team for Serie A, which is just funny as hell to me.
I can't believe Ronaldo has 28 goals. It's like he's shit.
You can't?
No. The guy's 35 years old. Do you know what 20 has Harry Kane scored 28 once?
Yeah. No, more than once, but
no, but I'm saying like
in just
I just don't think people really understand what it means that someone scored. Like, Lukaku's had a great season and he scored 22.
Okay. But you've got Parma, Crotone, Benevento. Look at my fucking terrible Italian accent.
Oh, you fucking guinea.
Yeah.
Well, here's the real reason no one else on the team has
there's
9 goals, because he doesn't let anyone
Spaz
shoot.
In the league, okay? It's Spazia. Fucking Spaz. You got Cristiano Ronaldo playing against a bunch of Spazzes. Yeah, that's why he's got 28 fucking goals.
Yeah, all I'm saying is it's really hard to score 28, and we take
I understand. I'm not
he's
taking
an all-time
away from
great
him.
that we have to go. He's 35, and we're like, 28 goals.
Yeah, right. No, I get it.
In year 20.
I am taking him for granted 100%.
I hate him, by the way.
Yeah, sure. But nonetheless, he is, like you said, he is in generations time doesn't even touch what he is, right?
He's an
all-time deity.
He's more than a generational talent. He's an all-time. He's pantheon. There are 10 footballers of all time who are going to be mentioned, and he is one of them.
Yep, absolutely. So, I mean, it's not surprising. He's got 28 goals. I'm like, yeah, he's got 28 goals. That makes a ton of sense to me. So yeah, Italy's done and dusted, but that's a bit of a mess there for Juve. And you touched on the Super League stuff.
And then France, man. PSG behind Lille. Lille. I'm not even kidding. I don't think there's any player that anyone in the world knows plays for Lille. Their leading goal scorer is 35 years old, and this is his first season in a top 5 league. He'd been hiding out in Turkey his whole career. Now, big clubs in Turkey, but my guy just rolls in and is just like, I got this.
The goalie, Mike Magnan, I believe, because I know Spurs were targeting him. That's the only reason.
Well, they will get poached, and this team has lived off of selling players. Like, if you go look through where good French players come from, they come from Lille. I believe that Hazard came from Lille. I believe that a handful. Hazard came from Lille. Nicola Pepe came from Lille. There's a bunch, but it's their model. They're like they churn out players and they live off selling.
I think that there's a few like that. Monaco is one of them.
Yeah.
Lyon used to be one of them, not so much anymore, but Marseille, same. But yeah, so this would be the first time that PSG has not won La Liga in 10 years. Lille actually
they won Monaco.
Oh, Monaco won that.
It's like 12 out of the last. It's a crazy number.
Yeah. Hold on.
I got it.
There was one where Lille finished in second a few years ago. But no, even the sick Monaco year, they right there it is. 2016-17. They finished 8 points ahead of them. Nice job.
They won 7 out of 8.
Right.
Since 2012. They had won 4 in a row, then Monaco, then 3 in a row.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm sitting here in my seat.
Coach.
By the way, there's a French Cup final, PSG and Monaco coming up. So that's an interesting one. I'm sitting here hoping that PSG drops points. Why would you think that, Mike? What do you care? Well, it's funny you say.
You
PSG, as we know,
Schadenfreude bastard.
Yeah. No, it's not that. It's really not that. It's help come save us. It's interesting that if they drop 2 more points and Monaco nips them for 3 more points, I guess.
Well, Monaco has the whole thing in hand. They need to win 2 more games.
Right.
Sorry. Lille needs to win 2 more games.
I'm not worried about Lille. I'm trying to get PSG further down the table because if they miss out on, by the way, which is still mathematically possible, if they miss out on Champions League after going out of the Champions League this past season, there's no chance in hell that they won't fire Pochettino. There's no chance.
They will fire him.
They will absolutely fire him because Champions League is the only thing that matters to them, right? And so even if they get to third, they get that like shitty playoff round. Okay, fine. But I still think that there's a chance that we could lure Mauricio Pochettino back. Now, this is unfounded. I've been saying this, by the way,
to yourself.
On this show. No, I've been saying it on this show. My timeline was different, though. I said we would keep Mourinho to start next season, and then as PSG flamed out of Champions League, which they always do, they'll fire Pochettino then because they only gave him an 18-month contract. Doesn't that give you a bit of a red flag, by the way, as a manager?
But maybe it's Pochettino wanted an 18-month contract.
No, it's definitely not. But like he wanted to go to PSG, which is why he was okay with it.
Yeah.
But because he used to play there and all that stuff, fine. But isn't that a bit of a red flag? What does that give you for job security? Like,
you know that this is the game. This is how it's done. You know. It's not a bad thing to get fired from PSG, right? You know.
Well, so the thing is that
because look, Unai Emery's got the Arsenal job. Yeah, he fucked up, but he He made it there. His next team to the Europa League final. He took Arsenal to the Europa League final.
Yes,
forget that.
I'm not saying that.
And Tuchel is in the Champions League final.
He is, but I'm not. And I'm not saying that Unai Emery or Tuchel are bad coaches. What I'm saying is when you get fired, when you flame out of PSG, when you are not able to do the one thing that they want you to do, which is to make a deep Champions League run. Tuchel never really did that. You get a bruised resume. Right. Yeah. It takes a little while for him to bounce back. Now in Tuchel's case, he actually got lucky that Lampard stunk and he walked right into that job. But it wasn't like his door was getting banged down with offers when he got fired. Right. So,
the thing is like Lampard was a sacrificial lamb in that they let him coach during the down season when they had no transfer ban. They'd lost Hazard. And then they were like, let's see what happens. And the second things went wrong, they were like, "Yeah, you're not ready. Okay, let's get the real pros in here. You're a schnook. Get the fuck out of here." And they gave him a gold watch, and they're like, "You did a good job. Pat him on the head. Let him go." Right? Yeah. He got them top 4. That's all they needed from him. They let him keep his job, and they fired him at the appropriate time.
Agreed.
I think Frank Lampard probably knows that. He's probably like, "Man, I guess so."
All right.
He's not. That guy doesn't strike me as I know with Chelsea, he played and he fought, and there's no way you could be at a team at that level and not have fight. But he just never struck me as a guy who like is an intense, wants to coach kind of guy. Yeah. Right. I want guys losing their shit all the time. Either they're chill like Big Sam or Wenger, or be going batshit, moving your arms around all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I agree.
But yeah, Lille winning the French league would be a massive, massive achievement. I believe they are the number 1 defense in Europe.
That makes sense.
Which is, that's how you can win.
Which is why I know what the goalkeeper's name is. Spin it over to Spain real quick. Nobody wants to win the league.
No. Although I think Atleti finally have got this. Like unless they really, well, they don't have it. They just shit the bed the least.
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Barca really,
They tanked it pretty bad.
they really fucking shit the bed. But I think we're in a really heavy duty transition phase for La Liga. I mean, after Messi goes, there is no star in that league at the level, unless the kid from Atleti steps up. They're just not.
Joao Felix.
Yeah, and he has a long way to go, because usually the greats are already great by now.
Right.
And I know that sounds crazy to say, but 2021, you better be fucking killing it.
You're on Wheaties box.
Yeah. I mean, look at the top scorers: Luis Suarez, Karim Benzema, Leo Messi. That's not good. They're all old.
That's you could have told me that was 8 years ago. I'd be like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then it's a lot of old guys. I mean, I guess this El Nesri guy at Sevilla is not too old, but it's not a league that's dynamic or vibrant. And I think it showed in the Champions League. The league is just not athletic enough. They really, all the teams in Spain, I mean, Real hung in the longest, but Sevilla, Barcelona, Atleti, they just got outworked and out-athleted. The players in the Premier League at the top level, like we're talking about the top 5% of teams, you got to be technical, because now athletes are technical. It's the same thing that's sort of happening in basketball, where it was small guys who could shoot and had skills, but now the athletes can shoot and have skills, where it's not unusual for a 6'9" guy to be able to play with the ball and shoot. It's not, he doesn't go in the post and just wait for you to give him the ball. That's what's happening in soccer now. Like, yeah, N'Golo Kante might be tiny, but he can fucking run all day, and he's probably stronger than any 5 fucking people you've ever seen, even though he's 5'4", and probably eats other pygmies.
My goodness.
Yeah, this is Athletics. They got a 2-point lead with 2 games to go, and they don't really have. I don't think they have any tough games left. But it's interesting in the.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they have Osasuna and Valladolid. They don't have anything left. That's hard. Sociedad was a tough game, by the way, because that's where David Silva plays. So I know that it was tough. But I think that rather than sort of talk about the leagues and stuff, I think it's more interesting to talk about the whole, right? European soccer as a whole, and how the strength of each league ebbs and flows on the money, or on the talent, on the moments, on the coaching. Whereas, for a decade, basically, Spain was the strongest league on the strength of Messi, on the strength of Pep, on the strength of Mourinho being in Spain for a couple of years there, on the strength of a Yankees Red Sox war between Barca and Real.
Yeah.
Where, to be fair, Barca before Messi was okay. They had moments, but Real are far and away the bigger, more winning club than Barca, but it's now close. It's like the Liverpool versus Manchester United. And that money and that prestige has shifted away. And it is now with one club per other league. So Bayern in Germany, PSG in France, and Juve in Italy. But the rest of the strong teams, it's all in England. And competition drives fucking innovation, right? You can't rest on your laurels, Arsenal. You can't rest on your laurels, Liverpool before Klopp. If you sit down and wait for a minute and try and think you're going to be okay, the rest of the world will catch up with you. This is the amazing thing, and why the Super League, I think, is such a pain point, that even when you hear Americans talk about the Super League, they kind of just gloss over the bigger thing. It's the elimination of competition within European football for access to wealth, right? Mm-hmm. The Champions League is so much money, and that trickle down, or that opportunity to get your hand on it. If someone just pushes your team up to get your hand on the ladder, right? The way, Leicester has basically, let's call it, they pushed fucking Arsenal out. Yep. Chelsea before that pushed Arsenal down, or whoever was that other team. Was Aston Villa. These teams that come up, City and Chelsea, push teams that thought that it was their right to be in the Champions League out of that money. And they had to fight again. They had to go again. Liverpool got into the wilderness because United pushed them out. You know, Alex Ferguson famously said, I'm going to kick them off of their fucking perch. And he did.
Yeah.
And so this is the phase we're in. And I think the Premier League is in a super strong position. And the Super League is a way for these teams in these weaker leagues to grab revenue and basically be like, we want to be in the Premier League. How about we make our own Premier League with the best Premier League teams?
With all you guys, yeah. So, and I think one of the other things, right, you mentioned it, follow the money, right? So the thing about this is
but not just money, it's coaching, it's the whole thing. Like, it's all of it. It's all of it.
But when I think
the best
about
coaches
the
go to
Super
the teams with the best players, with the best training, like it cycles on itself.
And it's not in a vacuum, just money. You're right. Coaching is a significant part of it, all that. But I think the race to other revenue streams has been a really, really underrated, part of all of this. And so that's where the Super League
baseball too for the Yankees and Red Sox. Yeah.
Right. And back 15 years ago or so. But the thing is that the fucking International Champions Cup, right? Like, I mean, all the big names in Europe are basically in that, right? You've got Real, you've got Barca, you've got PSG, you've got, I saw PSG live. Inter and Bayern, all that. But there seems to be more of a race to the United States, to China, and to Eastern Europe, because it's greener pastures, right? And that's really what a lot of the Super League was based on. Like we were hearing about there was going to be games in Miami between
La Liga wanted to have there was a famous 39th game,
right?
Proposal.
And so. But that was going to be a regular thing. And so what was the term? Legacy fans, I think.
Yeah. Oh,
right. So, and people like lost their shit because imagine your favorite sports team, the Dallas Cowboys, let's say, right? The Dallas Cowboys, who have fans all over the fucking country because that's ridiculous. But nonetheless,
but let's say they tapped out of the US and the TV rights market dropped off and the ratings were starting to get soft and they just stopped caring about people in Dallas and were like, we're going to move to China, or we're going to play games in China with the Raiders, the Giants, the Redskins, and the Chicago Bears.
Yep.
And left the league behind.
Well, and it's
with Tampa Bay and Jacksonville and Carolina and all these teams that really have no history. Maybe the 49ers get to go with them too.
Yeah, right. But that's the thing is that the NFL schedule came out this week. And, there were 2 more games in London. I don't know, but I hope they're at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. They fucking better be. It's the most beautiful thing.
That's the whole point that they made the whole stadium for.
They have literally 2 NFL-sized locker rooms. Anyway, it's not important. So why are they continuing to do this? Because they're going after the English market, right? Failed for 15, 20 years, but they seem to have finally caught on in a specific way.
It's not big enough. I don't know why. I don't know why they're choosing that market. I guess that's the only place they even have a foothold.
You know why? Because they speak English.
Oh, that's why the Premier League is so big, right?
Yeah. That's why the Premier League is so much bigger than the competition too. But that's why the leading reason why it's that much bigger. It's in English. And that's why that's why La Liga is the second biggest.
Well, big news: La Liga will be going to ESPN.
Myself and Gooch are both getting a little older. One of the first things to go is your vision. Thank goodness for our hookup over at Absolute Eyewear in Woodbridge, New Jersey, right on Main Street next to the train station. They have glasses for all ages, all budgets. They have safety glasses, sports glasses. They are a full-service powerhouse offering eye exams and even free lenses for the kids. They work with BCBS, AAA, AARP, giving massive discounts. They're open 5 days a week, closed on Wednesdays and Sundays. Call 732-326-3937 to get your first pair of Ray-Ban, Burberry, Coach, Polo, you name it, they got it. Go see Craig and Johnine right now.
So that means that ESPN, Serie A is leaving ESPN and going to CBS.
Mm-hmm.
Bundesliga, we know, is at ESPN, and now La Liga is on ESPN. So those are the musical chairs of teams moving around.
Yeah.
But where the Champions League land, nobody knows. And I mean, it's just
it's
so annoying how they have all these competitions split up, but it's revenue. So I did want to give a shout out to something that I think is a really good event, and I will tell everyone about it.
I know what it is.
Okay. If you want to watch good football and you're not always sure where to start, the Women's Champions League final is coming up.
Oh, I was wrong. I was not
going to go with Brighton. I knew you were looking for it.
But no. I thought you were going to go with the promotion playoff.
No, that's another good one. But Barcelona plays Chelsea. Chelsea going for a quadruple. If Chelsea win the Women's Champions League and Chelsea men's win the Men's Champions League, they'll be the first team to hold the Men's and Women's Champions League. Barcelona has set a record for goals that no one will ever close to. They're somewhere near like 5 goals a game. We looked at it the other day. They're incredible.
So I had been drinking a bit, and I thought you sent me the men's because I did not look at La Liga that much this season. I was like, Jesus Christ! And then I looked, and I was like, oh, okay, never mind.
But it is interesting, and they've also another thing that's happened. UEFA. This is the first year that UEFA's for women's soccer. This makes a big deal. Used to be only $300,000 for the team that won, but now the whole pot is up to $30 million, and the winning team is going to get $1 million for just their team. That's 4 times the amount, and the money is trickling down to the rest of Europe. And why do I bring up European soccer women's in the final? Is because they have figured it out better than we have. If you listen to us and have been with us since way back in episode 2 with our first negative comment because we didn't know anything about women's sports, what they're doing that's smart is Manchester City men's has the same shirt as Manchester City women's. Barcelona men's, the biggest team in the world, now spends money on Barcelona women. And guess what? They play the same style. They integrate the women's team into the club you already love. And look, we have women playing. And look, female fans, you can watch. Your husband can come with you. You can bring your kids. Instead of trying to build out this whole different thing that's separate, it's all integrated. So when you're a Barcelona fan and your shit team is falling apart, losing La Liga, getting 3-3 draws, Messi's going to leave, you can go and watch them play in the Champions League final against Chelsea and avenge the 1-0 loss. You can carry history and narrative and story to the women's team. And why does this matter? Because a European team is going to win the fucking Women's World Cup before the U.S. wins again, because Jill Ellis sucked and she fucking held the U.S. team back. A team that plays football is going to beat the U.S. team, even though our girls are all 3 times as tall, 4 times as fast. Some 5'1" Spaniard is going to dribble around them like the Japanese did when they beat the U.S. 8 years ago.
100%. And there's your hot take of the day. But yeah, I mean, the Women's World Cup has been so purely based on nothing but athleticism, such little tactics, for such little, just cohesion. And the only amounts of either was on the U.S. side, right? When Pia Sundhage was the coach, see, I know my shit, lady who gave us a negative review. No, I remember when Pia Sundhage was the coach, there was cohesion. Why? Because she knew the game. Jill Ellis was basically hoof it up the field to Abby Wambach's forehead.
She's fucking Sam Allardyce with a good team.
Yes, exactly.
Actually, Sam Allardyce is a good choke. I don't know, someone bad. She's Tony Pulis.
Sean Dyche.
Don't slander Dyche.
But yes, I could not hold I don't think there's an opinion we probably share that we agree on more than this. Jill Ellis, the U.S. in the last 2 World Cups and the Olympics, for whatever it's worth, should be winning 3-4-0 against teams like Australia, against teams like South Korea. If you're playing against France, if you're playing against Germany, that's different. Those clubs are almost already on the U.S. level. In fact, they arguably are, right? Japan as well. And so you're already seeing the rest of the world catch up by the way, on a sport that they know a fucking lot better than us. So
the difference is we're like the Brazil, where we have every athletic girl play soccer.
Yes.
Right. I think the U.S. has more registered female players at all levels than all of Europe combined by 2.
Wow. I mean,
like a sick number.
Yeah, sure. And then overlay the U.S. on a map on Europe, and you go, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but there's still more people in Europe total.
Sure. But yeah, and so I think that, this was my big axe to grind on the second episode of our show ever. And if you go back to production value, believe it or not, is worse than it is now. But so the main point I was making is that the leagues generate revenue. This is when Alex Morgan came over to my beloved Tottenham Hotspur women team,
who are terrible,
who are awful. And by the way, she played like 5 times. It was a mess. It was a total mess.
Well, she had the kid. She got injured.
No, and I'm not blaming her. But
No. It just sucked.
Publicity
it
sucked,
sucked,
right? And this is before COVID, before the pandemic. There was a Tottenham Arsenal game held at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium that had 40,000 fans there.
Yeah.
If you could name me one women's event aside from the U.S. women's team that took place outside of Portland in the last 10 years, I'd be shocked because there isn't one. Okay.
Yeah, no, I know.
We looked at NWSL attendance, even with the World Cup bump, so to speak. It was a whole, I mean, it's a joke, right?
Yeah, I mean, if a team has 5,000 weekly fans, that's massive.
It's a big deal, right? Yeah. And so you've got the numbers. It was basically, there were 3 or 4 games. And again, it was City versus United. It was Tottenham versus Arsenal. And it was United versus Liverpool, I think, were the 3 examples I found. Now, arguably,
I believe that they had 90,000 in Spain for Real Barca, but the thing they did that was cool, it was free. Yeah. But that still means people went, right? They still have to decide to go.
Yes. It still means people went. It still means people bought beer. It still means people did all these things. And so, there's just so much value. The calling card for that episode was you're playing for the shirt, you're playing for the badge, right? And it's not about the New York Liberty. Who the fuck cares about the New York Liberty? You know what?
If it was the Lady Knicks, I would be in.
Right. And that's the thing, is that if you have, if you have interest in the Liberty, God bless you. That's your right. And I hope you have a great time. And I hope they win for you. But it's going to alienate the already established men's and women's marketing aspects, right? Like, it's just so simple and so easy. And so if you want to be indignant and do your own thing, that's,
well, I mean, as I think about it, I can think about the argument. The argument is, why should we draft? Why do we have to
You don't
be second to the men? Why do we have to? We want our own thing. We want our own brand.
You're more than welcome to.
You're going to lose. Is the problem.
Well, obviously, but that's okay. You're going to learn capitalism the hard way. But you're more than welcome to do that. And I wish you all the luck in the world. But you can't also then say, hey, NBA, we're hemorrhaging money again for the, 11th straight year. Would you guys mind floating us another, 25?
By the way, I might have to get way into the Women's Super League in England. There is a Brighton and Hove Albion women's team. Maybe I can cheat on City by being like secret Hove Albion team, but for ladies only. There's no like the gender. I don't have to root for Manchester ladies.
There you go.
But they're not good.
See that, folks. You can make it up as you go along. But that's the thing, is that you're more than capable and welcome to do your own thing at any time you want, and that's fine. But you can't come back with your hand out expecting that the regular leagues that have been here for 100 years and have billion-dollar values are going to foot the bill for your little excursion here. I
do actually want to talk about.
It's a little confusing
about Chelsea. This Chelsea women's team is lovable players. The coach.
They're not. Chelsea's not lovable. That's impossible.
No. They're tough. They're badass. Fran Kirby and Sam Kerr have kicked ass and taken names. They beat City every time, and their coach Emma Hayes is just a hilarious kind of like who is the Jets coach, the fat guy?
Rex Ryan.
Yeah, he's kind of like a female Rex Ryan. She's a little slovenly.
Jesus.
She curses in interviews.
So she's like everybody from England you don't see on Downton Abbey.
Yes, she is the most. But she's a great coach. She's got this team basically only one loss, winning the Super League, winning the FA Cup, and in the Champions League final. And if you want to go back and look at a great matchup, the 2-legged affair against Bayern Munich is legendary, with Chelsea going through against them. And they are the underdogs against this Barcelona team that had a goal differential of 100 goals and scored 130 goals in like 20 games. for the season. So this is a Barca team out of nowhere. I don't think they have more than 10 years of existence. So a lot of these women's leagues are really fascinating. They're the beginning of a sport. It's not the same as men's sports. It's women's soccer.
You go into it saying it's different.
Yeah, but appreciate it for what it is. It doesn't
organically.
have to be men's
Yes.
men's soccer.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's really good.
You
it's
don't
probably
have to do that.
the best women's team sport to watch, I would say.
Yeah, I don't think
the
that's
basketball skills aren't right. It's not. It feels wrong to watch it. But women's soccer, you can't. It feels good to watch. There's skill. You get behind it. The goals count. Anyway, that's my watch. And then yes, I do have to do. Maybe next week I'll talk about.
We'll talk about the promotion playoff. Yeah, I think that's a good topic for next week.
Yeah,
but yeah,
okay.
I mean,
yeah,
I think the skill level in women's football is strong because at the club level, I mean, I watched some of those World Cup games where I was
they're
like,
bad. There's not enough good teams. It needs to be.
There's not, and like so, I forget who it was. It was like a cone drill. It was Rose something from the U.S. team, and she dribbles Rose Lavelle, and she dribbles about 40 yards. Yeah, she's very good, but she didn't have to really run laterally much at all.
No. And
then she scored a goal from outside the box that skipped 4 times on the way past the keeper who barely dove. And I went, none of that was impressive. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you have to wait to the knockout rounds. But it's getting there. I mean, I think that
it is. It's getting better.
There was the same problem with the men's African teams in the 90s. Like people were like, Cameroon, get the fuck out of here. But those African teams became part of the story and people fell in love.
Well, it's the same exact thing we just talked about. We just talked about with the Premier League where competition creates everything and it raises and coaching. But yes, exactly. Those two elements, it raises the bar for everybody around them. And they are forced, especially in a league with Pro Rel, you're forced to ante up essentially.
And hey, even in a financially precarious sport like women's soccer in Europe, guess what they have? They have Pro Rel between 2 leagues. They just go up and down a little.
Right.
And you know what? I'm sure the guys at Real Madrid are like, Barcelona ain't fucking winning this league again like that.
Oh, absolutely.
In women, they compete everywhere. In basketball, they're always competing.
Yep.
Anyway.
And so that's the thing is if you can tap into those resources, you don't have to look like, oh, we're not going to be the Knicks. But we still have our hand out. You can, the problem with the idea of sports feminism is that you need to be this so over the top individualistic, right? You can also be part of the group, right? We would love to have you. We'd love to have you, right?
Yeah. Who wouldn't love, you go to Spurs, you go to the men's game, people are wearing Harry Kane shirts. The men are wearing, Alex Morgan shirts. The girls are wearing Harry Kane shirts. Everyone's wearing the shirts. You've got your teams. And in fact, they should make them fucking double headers or something ridiculous like that. And people be at the games. Play before. Who cares?
Absolutely.
Anyway, that's us solving women's sports, solving feminism, and taking over the world. And that was the Squeaky Bum Time Podcast with Mike Salerno and Laurent Cortines. We release new episodes on Mondays and Thursdays. Not last Monday.
Usually.
Please rate and review on Apple Podcasts as it makes a huge difference. And we are proud members of the Chopped Network. They are kicking ass, and we hope we are helping.